Hello.
Hi!
How are you, Katie?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. How's your week been?
Yay. It's Monday.
It is Monday. That is true. Anything exciting happened to you? Katie? I can't hear you, Katie. Hmm. Are you there? I think we may have lost Katie. Katie, if you can hear me, text me. We seem to have dropped you. I'll go ahead and introduce the rest of the show, but I'm not sure what's going on with your feed there. Um, so yeah, text me. Anyway, welcome back to the Smoking Nun. Tonight we're going to be talking about something that is rather serious, and with it being Pride Month, I think it's important that we tackle this issue. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can. It's doing the blue screen again. Okay, one second, everybody. I'm not sure why it's cutting Katie off. There, now you're back.
It keeps like saying that the host is disconnected.
That's weird. I haven't
Yeah.
disconnected you. I can hear you now, though, so that's good. I was just asking you if anything exciting happened to you this week.
Um, beauty and why I'm frozen. Look at my face.
I think you're catching up now. Now you're good. Now your
Okay.
smile is caught up, I think.
My lips were like, what's going on? This is ridiculous.
I think for whatever reason, I think that when it goes out and processes, it's usually synced up. But yeah, you're having some like it could be something with your connection maybe because you're kind of choppy.
No, I have a really good.
I don't know. Let me
This
see if
is
people can.
weird.
Let me see. One second, everyone. Okay. Let me see if that maybe works. I turned down the resolution on your end just a little bit. Maybe that will.
Look, now I'm not.
Now you're good. Now you look
Yes,
good.
now
Now you
I'm
look good.
good.
Stable.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Um.
you.
So, did anything exciting happen with you this past week?
Um, I just got two letters from lawyers threatening to sue me, so nothing new.
Oh, for what reason? And who are you able to say who?
Uh, Tati Westbrook.
Oh, you got a big
Hmm.
fish going after you.
Yeah, yep.
So how did you get involved in the middle of this drama?
Well, so I've been covering it because she sells these like crazy wooey vitamins, and she has been like bullying this other influencer, or she hasn't been. She did a whole video, and if anyone lives under a rock, they should know that the whole thing went viral, and it was like 70 million views, and um, I just started covering the story, and then I started sort of digging into the past because so many questions were left unanswered, and I wrote an article that kind of upset them,
Hmm.
and got two really aggressive letters to my publisher for cease and desist. And I took the article offline for a couple days and I reformatted it, and then I dropped it again today with a lot more receipts and a lot more sources so that they can't. And I took out some of the verbiage that they thought was whatever. But it's like they don't want anything online that's like not doesn't fit their narrative that she's like this wholesome person, and
Mm-hmm.
you can't force someone to take something offline just because it's not favorable.
Right. Yeah. So you've had everybody and their brother after you here lately, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. I was actually, I was talking to my, so the crazy thing is, you guys, is BeliefNet is the company that owns Patheos, and they're like this really ultra right, conservative, like Christian media company. Um, but like the people that work there are like super cool. It's really weird. And the guy that's like my guy, his name is Phil, and I was like talking to him today, and he was just like, "Well, you're just one of those journalists where you poke the bear a lot,
Yeah.
and the type of work that you do exposes things
Hmm.
and brings things to light that people don't want brought to light. So the nature of the beast is that you're going to upset people, and some people are going to fight back,
Sure.
and you just have to get used to it.
Absolutely. Well, keep rocking the boat. I think that's great. Um,
I feel
so
like if you get someone up, I feel like if you're like, think of it in this context. She has 70 million views of that video, and her average video on YouTube gets about a million views.
hmm
My article had 30,000 views. She was worried about 30,000 views to a million views that she gets a day.
she's probably a narcissist. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's nuts.
Well, just keep doing what you're doing. I think it's great. So let's start out with nonsense news, and let's find out what's going on in the world of headline stupid. Um, First story: a male student uses Snapchat's gender filter to pose as an underage girl who was 16, leading to a cop's arrest.
Whoa!
And just so you know, this is the filter. This is the individual who did it, and the sort of before and after. But it says a California college student desperate to take down child predators posed as an underage girl using Snapchat's gender filter and allegedly caught a cop looking to hook up with a minor. The student, who is a 20-year-old named Ethan from San Francisco, used the feature which transforms male faces into female faces to disguise himself as a 16-year-old girl named Esther. Ethan then created a Tinder account and quickly received a message from a man named Rob. And after doing research, Ethan determined the man was San Mateo officer Robert Davies. I believe he messaged me, "Are you going to have some fun tonight?" And I decided to take advantage of it, Ethan told NBC. Ethan explained he continued to speak with Davies on a messaging app called Kik, still posing as Esther, and told him that she was only 16. The Ethan then says it got more explicit as it went on, and then on May 11th, Silicon Valley Crime Stoppers received a tip from Ethan, who explained he had been posing as the 16-year-old. The police discovered that Ethan had began chatting with the police officer on Tinder. The two switched Kiks, where they acknowledged that Esther was 16. Davies was arrested on June the 6th after detectives obtained a felony arrest warrant. He was charged with contacting a minor to commit a felony, according to the statement. Now, here's my question: you've seen those?
Yeah.
You've seen To Catch a Predator, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we know that most likely people are, and with the rise of YouTube and things, there are a lot of channels, and Anxiety War is one that comes to mind. That it's a guy that poses as an underage individual and sets these guys up to meet. And
Yeah.
uh, how are people this stupid?
I don't know.
Especially an officer like this.
Yeah, I know.
An officer is somebody that is actively going to be pursuing something like this. So how in the hell can somebody fall for that now?
I don't know. I wrote an article. I like covered an article a couple months ago, maybe 6 months ago, where it was a CPS worker.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like
Yikes.
charge of kids. Like
Hmm. I remember
I. It's weird.
I remember the rabbi one with To Catch a Predator, where he was a rabbi, and he just, it looked like a deer in headlights when he got caught. But yeah, I mean, you're not going to get away with that these days. A man sued a hotel for an accident when he jumped from the balcony to dazzle his friends. So,
Ouch.
yeah, but wrap your head around this. He's suing the hotel when he's the one that jumped.
What?
Yep, there's the images of him right there. But A young man was on the Spanish Isle of Mallorca. He demanded that the resort where he stayed pay the medical bill following a fraudulent accident in the pool. The man was left with considerable injuries, such as a fractured clavicle and some broken ribs, so he asked the hotel to take care of the hospital expenses for more than 33,000 euros. According to what was published in the newspaper, the lie of the young man was revealed after the heads of a hotel contacted the insurance company to carry out the investigation of the accident that occurred. The young man said that the injuries had been caused by a fall he suffered when he left the hotel pool. However, the insurance company had only to resort to social media networks to discover that it was a fraud. So his friends posted these images of him jumping from the balcony and discovered that it wasn't a fall from the pool, but in fact, the idiot jumped from the balcony down to the pool.
Oh my God.
And look, he doesn't even make it.
I can't even say. Oh, ouch. Okay, I couldn't see on that screen.
Yeah, I know it's kind of blurry for you, but yeah, it's not a good landing.
Spain, you said?
What's that?
Was that in Spain?
Yes. Yeah.
Mallorca is what you meant.
There you go. I like that.
Yes. Mallorca.
Say that again?
Mallorca.
Mallorca. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one of my favorite stories. Light rail opponent. God killed the former Congressman Ed Pastor because he supported mass transit. God does not like trains. One of the original leaders of the anti-light rail movement in southern Phoenix claims that God judged Congressman Ed Pastor for bringing death to the community by supporting light rail and punished him with a fatal heart attack. This is
the anti-rail movement? What
yes.
the hell?
Apparently it's a thing. At a city council meeting, Celia Cortez told council members that she was coming in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ with a message: stop the light rail or punishment will continue. Now, here's the thing.
Oh my God.
Do we really think, okay, let's grant that God is real just for a second.
Yeah.
With all the things that are going on in the world, do we really think he's concerned with light rail in Phoenix?
He's too busy helping athletes like win
oh yeah, that's right.
Like, game.
Yeah. Or NASCAR. That's a big thing too.
Yeah.
Or Grammys, because that's the first.
Yes.
Those are the first people that get
I want to thank God for my boy.
It was unclear to the audience where she was going with her remarks, but the council soon learned. Cortieres, who operates a window tinting shop on Central Avenue, handed members a flyer that featured a photo of Ed Pastor, who died of a heart attack in November. The flyer also documents a conversation Cortieres says she had with God, where God said he gave Pastor a heart attack because he was the architect of the light rail and warned that he would continue to judge those who supported the transport.
Why? What is wrong with the light? I don't get it. Why are they mad at the light rail?
Probably what happens, and it doesn't go into detail on this, but what I think probably happens is the eminent domain, where the state came in to take land, to make this rail, and these are people that got caught up in, or their land was taken, or maybe they think they should have got more for it, and so now they're saying that this guy died because he supported it, and it was God's punishment But so. Just keep in mind, God does not support trains at all.
God hates trains, but he loves NASCAR, and he's really into touchdowns.
Yeah, there you go. For those protesters, that are protesting pride or whatever, take down the signs that say God hates fags and put up God hates trains. That's more accurate. It's way more accurate. Okay, some other geniuses here. Thieves steal a U-Haul that had a casket in it with a dead body inside.
Why would you have a casket in a U-Haul?
We're about to find out. Police say that thieves have stolen an SUV with an attached U-Haul trailer with a casket inside. Albuquerque police say that the heist occurred early Monday at a residence inn, and the casket was later found not too far from the site it was taken. Authorities say the casket contained the body of the victim's father-in-law. The U-Haul was located after police searched for a black 2005 Chevy Trailblazer with Oklahoma license plates. Police said the deceased man's daughter and her husband were on their way from Oklahoma to bury him. So I guess they were.
Uh-uh.
I mean, the thing is, like, these thieves stole this U-Haul thinking that it would be full of like people moving, like, so, you know, TVs, that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
what wound up happening is they stole it, took it somewhere, opened it up, saw the casket, left the thing there, obviously, because, you know, who you wouldn't go meddling in a casket. But yeah, the bigger question here, I think, is why are you U-hauling with a casket and your your father-in-law inside of
Yeah.
it?
Why is your brother in the casket? And why do you really care about him that much that you just shoved him in a U-Haul?
We may not know all the, you know, the details, but the
Where was
thieves,
this?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
This
No
would be
arrests.
this would have been a more appropriate Florida story.
Yeah, it would have. No arrests have been made, in case you're wondering.
Yeah.
Um, this is some. Now, the last two stories, as always, are going to be the ones that make you angry. Um,
Oh, before you start on this, I
yeah,
have to say something.
sure.
This the bleach stuff, you know, I saw this article, like, and I was like, I got the NBC people to sort of like get interested in writing this, and then they
Hmm.
didn't include me or whatever. But anyway, I have made it onto the Hall of Shame in Carrie on like Carrie Rivera's like face, like her website, like all of the like culty people that are into Miracle Mineral Solution. I have officially been like assigned the Hall of Shame for writing about the dangers of it.
Congrats.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's nice work. Hall of Shame member there.
Yeah.
You get a trophy?
God, I don't know. God damn it, that bitch is against bleach. Ugh.
We need to find out if you get a trophy. Display that
Seriously.
display that shit. This story is it's just gonna it's just a one of those, it'll just piss you off. Fake science led a mom to feed bleach to her autistic sons, and police did nothing to stop her. Laurel Austin documented her son Jeremy's first dosing of chlorine dioxide on YouTube. In the 30-second video, broadcast to 4,465 subscribers, Jeremy, who is 27, sits at a kitchen table as his mother narrates his mood. Then his arms seem to involuntarily twist around one another, and he screams into his forearm before taking a bite of a banana. Here's to hoping and praying, she says. Austin is a photographer in Kansas and a mother of six, four of whom are adults with autism. According to her Facebook post, she has tried almost every fad online to cure the autism, and now has resorted to treatments for heavy metal poisoning, hormone therapies used in chemical castration, and natural remedies such as cilantro and algae. For the last year, according to her social media posts and documents from a police investigation, Laurel has been giving two of her adult sons, Jeremy and Joshua, chlorine dioxide or bleach. The FDA warns that the solution amounts to industrial bleach, and doctors say it can cause irreparable harm when ingested. Um,
Yep.
and this goes on to talk about a little bit about their sort of their daily life, but when this was brought to the police, let me see if we can find that out. Health information has started to infiltrate more mainstream. Um, the police, the Kansas City authorities' lack of response has baffled Bradley Austin, who is a caregiver who feels he's run out of options. Actually, that's their father, who feels he's run out of options for protecting his son against their mother's treatment. Basically, what's happening is that the police aren't getting involved, and they're not giving the father a clear indication as to why. Do you have any guesses as to why the police in this case wouldn't get involved?
Well, see, he's what, 27?
Yeah.
I'm sure part of it has to do with the whole, like, the. I'm guessing part of it has to do with, like, it should have it's a social services thing, maybe. I don't know.
Wait, did
But
whose name did you just say that did the Hall of Shame?
Carrie Rivera.
Okay, they mention her in this. It says that according to investigation notes, after speaking to Bradley Austin, the officers went to Laurel Austin's home. She told the officers she was following Riviera's chlorine
Yep.
dioxide protocol, and she'd seen improvement in her son's behavior since she'd begun giving them the solution. The police both observed both Joshua and Jeremy and determined they seemed to be happy and in good health, and neither appeared to be in pain. Oh boy. I mean, like, do you really have? If you even if they're adults though, right? Let's yes, they are adults, but they obviously need. They're both autistic, so they. It's not like they can make every decision for themselves that's in their best interest. You know what I'm saying? So shouldn't that come into play here, Katie?
Like, it's a gray area.
Mm.
And hello?
Hello,
Am
I
I
can hear you.
here?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Katie, Katie. Let's see. Katie, I'm
What's
Katie. You might want to close out and come back in. See if you can refresh. Hit the refresh button. You hit the refresh button. I'll go to the next story while you see. Katie, hit refresh. See if that works. Your connection's low. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next story while she refreshes. And this is sort of this is a sort of a tail end to, or it has to do a lot with what a lot of us are doing with the NIFB, the hate cult that is advocating. First of all, they put on the Make America Straight Again conference, and they advocate for the death of people of the LGBTQ community, and they are just a very, very vile group. And I'm not saying that this cop has anything to do with that group, but it's in line with what we saw from them. This is Grayson Fritz, who is a Knox County, Tennessee sheriff's detective, who called the LGBTQ people filthy and freaks, and says the Bible calls for their execution. Now, something to keep in mind while I'm reading this story is that this is a law enforcement officer. He's a detective. This is someone that, if something happens to someone in the LGBTQ community, if they are a victim of a hate crime, or if they are threatened, or if anything happens, these individuals should be able to trust that they can call someone like Fritz and be protected. But in openly saying the things that he says out loud, how can you trust that when you are in need and you need somebody to call, that someone like this isn't going to show up? And if they do show up, what's going to happen then? A sermon in which a minister, who is also a sheriff's detective, called for the execution of LGBTQ people has led into an investigation by authorities in Knox County, Tennessee. Grayson Fritz gave the sermon on June the 2nd at All Scripture Baptist Church in Knoxville, where he's a pastor. The Bible says the powers that are ordained of God and God has instilled in the power of civil government to send the police in 2019 out to these LGBTQ freaks and arrest them. He said in the sermon, which was posted to Facebook, "We will have a trial for them, and if they are convicted, then they are to be put to death." Do you understand that? It's a capital crime to be carried out by our government. All the he goes on to say this, all the pride parades, man, hey, call the riot teams. We got a bunch of them. Get the paddy wagon out there. We got a bunch of them going to jail. We got a bunch of them. We're going to get convicted because they've got their pride junk on and they're professing what they are. They're a filthy animal, he continued. He was basing his sermon entitled Sodomite Reprobates on the King James Version. King James Version was also, King James himself was gay, just a little side note. Version of the Bible in the book of Leviticus, which says in chapter 20, verse 13, "If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them." A few days before delivering the sermon, which came on the Sunday of LGBTQ Pride Month, Fritz, a 20-year county employee, requested early retirement from the Knox County Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Tom Spangler told local media Wednesday that Fritz is on paid sick leave until the effective date of his retirement, which is July the 19th. Let me get to this article and then we'll touch on that. "I want to be very clear that it is my responsibility to ensure equal protection to all citizens of Knox County, Tennessee, under the law, my oath, in the United States Constitution, without discrimination or hesitation," Spangler added. "Rest assured that I have and I will continue to do so." The Knox County District Attorney General Allen said her office is looking into the matter. As district attorney, I have dedicated my career to the belief that justice is blind and that people are entitled to equal protection of the law, and I will continue to do so. And we will not prosecute. We will prosecute fairly and justly based upon the law and the evidence, without prejudice, bias, or discrimination against any kind. The news about Fritz's sermon, first reported today, alarmed LGBTQ rights advocates. It's reprehensible when people use religion and their position in law enforcement to attack our community. This is why we celebrate. Let me skip over that because that's not. The All Scripture Baptist Church includes its belief in the death penalty for homosexuality in doctrinal statement on its homepage. It also says that the church considers the King James Version of the Bible to be perfect, to be the perfect, preserved Word of God without error. Where to begin on that one? The translation of the Bible was commissioned in the 17th century by King James I of England, believed by many historians to also have been a gay man. Oh, that's gotta hurt. In his Wednesday night sermon at the church, Fritz defended the June 2nd message and said he never intended for citizens to execute gay people, but that it is instead the job of the government. He said other churches are weak and spineless for not endorsing this penalty, and added, "Just as much as God loves, God hates. Put homos to death." End quote. Hey, you're back.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. There's something going on with my internet right now.
Yeah, you seem to be coming through better. I looked at before you closed out, I looked at your how much data was coming in between the two of us, and it was really low. Yeah. So you're coming in strong now. I'll read this last paragraph again, and you'll get caught up with the story. In Wednesday night's sermon at the church, Fritz defended the June 2nd message and said that he never intended for citizens to execute gay people, but that it is instead the job of the government. He said that other churches are weak and spineless for not endorsing this penalty, and added that just as much as God loves, God hates. Put homos to death. Shortly before the Wednesday service began, someone left a note outside the church, accompanied by a pride flag. It read, "Dear Pastor Fritz, I don't know what happened to you, but I am so sorry. Love thy neighbor." Now, that person who did that is a much better individual than I am, because I have words for Fritz, but it's not anywhere near that kind. There are two main points to take away from here. Number one, this is why when a lot of people ask, Well, I get that you're anti-theist, but why do you gotta push and talk bad about religion? Why can't you just leave it alone and let people believe whatever they want to believe? Because this is what happens when people believe whatever they want to believe. When
Yep.
people are left to their own devices, when religion goes unchecked, these people are, as you see here, people in the government, working for the state, in our community, policing people. These
Yeah.
individuals that we should be able to turn to in times of other people pushing hate or threatening or discriminating. We should be able to call people like the police. But with
Right.
people like him here, who is also a pastor, you can't be certain what Fritz is going to do
Right.
in that case. And the thing is, if religion goes unchecked, if religion goes not fought against or pushed back against, these people will continue to multiply in our government, and it could eventually get to where the people who are writing the laws are considering putting gay people to death because their God said so.
Right.
This story is unbelievable to me.
Well,
Unbelievable.
and they're the same people that are writing laws. The females feed it. An accomplice is equivalent to the entire life of a human. It's in category.
Right. It's infuriating. I don't think that he should. I don't think that he should get his retirement. You missed that part. He's a couple weeks away from retiring. He's on paid sick leave following these statements. So people's tax dollars are continuing to pay this piece of shit while while he's just kicking back and relaxing until retirement, and he gets a pension, which
Right.
our tax dollars pay for. I think that's outrageous, and there should be a cost to these sort of statements, undoubtedly.
And he's still a cop?
Well, not technically. He's retiring in 2 weeks, so they've put him
Oh.
on paid sick leave following these announcements. So he's getting paid until his retirement kicks in 2 weeks.
I feel like they never get what state is this in? Tennessee?
Tennessee.
I feel like in some of these southern states, it's like they have zero compassion. It's so driven and overwrought by the Bible Belt and churches that they just have zero capacity to see any human being
Well, yeah,
beyond straight hetero person.
you ain't from around here, are you?
No.
Yeah. So, fuck you, Fritz.
Yeah.
I hope you find a early retirement and not in the sense that you're thinking.
Yeah. Stop,
Um,
Frida. Stop.
so we're talking about. Oh, hey, Frida. We're talking about, as you can see right here to my left. We're going to be talking about. Oh my God, that's adorable.
Oh my God! Now the dogs are gonna
Uh-oh.
fight.
That's adorable. We're going to be talking about cyberbullying, hate crimes, because it's Pride Month, and a lot of people, especially young people, we're going to be focusing on what a lot of people go through in social media with cyberbullying, and what is a hate crime, what are the statistics on it. But the question that I have to start out things, Katie, is social media
Yeah.
a more of a net positive or a net negative on people's lives? What's your opinion on that?
I think it depends. I think you use social media, and I think if you're engaging in a positive manner on social, it can be very positive for you. But I also think that when you're in more anonymous sort of social media settings, and it's like the Wild West, like Twitter and YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of it can easily become very toxic, and you can be ganged up on, and you can get, attacked. And I think specifically, people are very good at trolling, and they can punch you where it hurts. They know your weaknesses. They know the words to say. And I think when it comes to kids that are in the LGBTQ, it's like they're gonna go first for the sexuality.
Yeah, and it happens. There's a an uptick this in these months. One
Yeah.
of the downsides or the cons to having something as as great as everyone celebrating Pride Month is that it also paints sort of a target on people, especially young people who are part of the LGBTQ community, because during this month there is an increase in hate crimes, bullying, physical assaults, threats, and that's a lot to a lot of people are as simple as you've heard this thing, why don't we have a straight Pride Month, um, that sort of thing. Like it stems from that. Like people are upset that a certain group of people get a month that they are celebrating who they are, and so that entices them to start putting people down, and it's a bad situation.
It's the people that do this are the same ones that say, like, no, all lives matter,
Yeah,
or why do we need a Black History Month, or why do we need and they're the same people that call us snowflakes and social justice warriors, and yeah.
right. And you have to be careful, like in those. The thing about the people who are in the alt right
Hmm.
are very, very, very good at spinning a narrative that suits them, and it's dog whistling is the term that's used. But if you think about it, saying the thing, like all lives matter, that's something that everybody without any context could get behind. You know what I mean? Like, yes, all lives do matter, but what groups like the alt right do is you can't they couldn't come out and say um, Black lives don't matter or Black lives suck. So what they do is they spin it in a way that is very nuanced and um, still gets what they're trying to get across, but in a way that's acceptable or seems acceptable, like hearing White Lives Matter or the All Lives Matter to counter the Black Lives Matter. What it does is it removes what the Black Lives Matter movement started for in the first place.
Right.
So you have to be careful about things like that. Katie, I've got a bunch of like statistics and stuff that I can go through.
Hmm.
Or did you want to start with something on the cyberbullying end?
I've just been stuck in this very like toxic story that's been, all over YouTube, and it's just becoming more and more prevalent and more obvious that all of this like bullying of James Charles is rooted in homophobia, and it's, people have gotten so nasty, and it's gotten to the point where I truly think that some people, they hate him so much that they almost want to make him kill himself, or they want him to be like harmed. And
Do you want to
it's
explain who James Charles is for anyone
oh,
that
okay.
may not know who that is?
So yeah, if you're not living in the beauty world, and I think people that follow my channel know, because on my channel we cover a lot of like cosmetic woo and just sort of misinformation in the makeup world, and there's a sort of subset of like influencers that make videos, right? And James Charles is this. He's 20 years old. He is like huge. He has like set almost 16 million like followers or subscribers. He's got 16 million on Instagram, and he's just like, I don't know, he's like very, he wears makeup,
He was
he's
the first.
very openly,
He was the first
huh?
male cover girl, right?
Yes. Yep, he was the first male like cover girl. He is very, he's very openly gay. He's very he's very like like he's pretty, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he wears beautiful makeup and he's very feminine, and it's made him, and he also has this very charismatic, like sort of out there personality, and people either like really love him or they hate him. And they started this whole thing like last month where they were accusing him of trying to make gay men or straight men gay by like coercing them and manipulating their sexuality. And it's like that tale as old as stereotype that the gay guy is out to like make the straight guys be gay.
It's number
And
3 on the
it's
gay agenda, just to put it out there.
yeah, yeah. And it's created this just mass, like, even though the accusations were completely proven false, even though the person that, like, the Tati Westbrook is the one who dropped these allegations, and she said that he coerced a waiter in Seattle. But then the waiter came forward, and he even made an apology video even yesterday. He uploaded it yesterday, and basically said that, like, he led James on, he was doing it for clout, he was faking being gay to get like something out of it. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Now everyone has branded him a sexual predator. And it's the sick double standard, because his behavior in terms of like how some females are with men, um, it's not even as aggressive. It's not even as like, some girls can be really forward, right? And like telling guys they're hot,
Mm.
but because he's gay, that's super over the line. So, it made me uncomfortable, and so it's just created this very toxic dynamic. And now everyone's labeling him a sexual predator. And even though it's not true, and the bullying continues. And drama channels that are in the YouTube, like in the YouTube beauty world, are so toxic, and they're playing up this narrative. And even other gay men are calling him a predator. It's just, even like, I've realized that there's even homophobia within the gay community. It's
The,
sick.
the thing that, I mean, and you can see there's examples of this in, I think, every community. It I mean, even close to home here, the narrative can get put out there that may be false. Maybe not everyone has all the information, and they run with the first thing that they hear,
Yep.
and it's a snowball effect. And so what happens is, because a large group of people rally behind something, it gets carried away, and everybody just sort of follows that. It's just a natural, I think, thing with people. But I wanted to, like, if you look over to beside me, to
Mm-hmm.
on the, like, right here, I've got a
Yeah.
bunch of what I'm going to be going through in like infograph form, so that you guys can follow along, or just read through as we go along. But these are some
How do I?
pretty. Hmm.
I'm sorry. How do I get this toolbar off the side?
If you move your mouse, when that
Uh
little
huh.
when the toolbar pops up at the bottom, hit
Yeah.
the very last one, the very last option or the icon. That should take it away. But it
Okay.
says how we're in talking about cyberbullying, and these are statistics for people who are in school, like your
Mm-hmm.
high schoolers, because I think that's where, and that's where the statistics lie. And the people that are affected the most with this, they're the people who are, constantly obsessed with the likes and the, who's following me, who's looking at this. It really affects people growing in that sort of mindset growing up. And 34% of people who were surveyed have admitted to experiencing a form of cyberbullying. 12% of students admit to cyberbullying someone in their life. 16.9% of students profess to have been cyberbullied in the past 30 days. Now, the trend of this, the prevalence is that from 2007 to 2016, when these studies were conducted, it has almost doubled. In
Yeah.
2007, it was 18%. Now it's up to 34%, and I think that's because almost everything that we do now is online.
Yeah.
And there's this new word that people put out there called FOMO. You know FOMO?
Fear of missing out of something.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So people are constantly looking to, and you know, social media is weird because I think it's important, but I also think to a certain extent it's very destructive to a lot of people's lives that can't handle it in the right way. Like if I know a lot of people that I know personally that paint a view of their life online that it's nothing like it is in real life.
Yeah.
It doesn't reflect that, and the sheer, like if they don't feel like they get enough likes or hearts or comments on a post that they put on Facebook, it will spin some people into a depression. And I think getting caught up in that,
Right.
it leads people to be more susceptible to instances of bullying, because when there is pushback, and here's another thing too. I also don't think, while I think that cyberbullying is atrocious, it's a problem and it needs to be addressed. In a lot of cases, I also don't think that the internet is a safe space. I think the internet is a place where people that you don't know are going to be saying things to you about you, the way you look, the way you talk,
Right.
the way you move, the every little detail about you is going to be analyzed by people, and under the guise of anonymity, or because some people just don't give a fuck, they're going to tell you things. They're going to cut you down. They're going to insult you,
Right.
and you have to be able to gauge whether or not the internet is a place that you can that it may be healthy for you in a mindset. So if you are somebody that feels like every time you go online you're getting attacked by something, there needs to be and I don't know how you do this. How would you go offline? Like you know what I mean? Like how would you
Yeah, I don't know.
not go online? That's a that's an interesting problem. No ideas? You're supposed to solve everything. Oh no. I think we lost Katie again. Katie! You cut out on me again. That's okay though. The most common reason behind cyberbullying is relationship issues, so between couples, and then 23% of cyberbullying victims reported the incident to a parent or authority figure, and 71% of young people admit to being concerned about the impact of cyberbullying. I think um, that's probably low, or seems low to me. So, who are the victims of cyberbullying? 20% of children ages 9 through 11 admit to being cyberbullied. 42% of LGBTQ students profess to have been cyberbullied, a significantly higher rate than for other students. Fortunately, well, I mean, I guess it wouldn't count for me because I wasn't out, but my brother was when we were in school, and he didn't, fortunately, which is, I know this is a rare anecdotal instance, but he didn't get bullied, which was a good thing. So there are instances in where it doesn't happen, and especially in a small town, it's really strange. Hey, you're back.
I don't keep that. It says the host keeps kicking me out.
I promise you, I like you here. I am not kicking you out. I was just going through real quick who's the target of cyberbullying. 90% of
Yeah.
students say that they have experienced um, cyberbullying in person. Overweight students are far more likely to be ridiculed. And shockingly, 40% of U.S. adults admit to experiencing a form of cyberbullying.
That doesn't surprise me.
Really?
No, not at all.
Why is that? I'm curious.
I think people are just emboldened by the anonymity of being online and that the fact that you're never going to see the person face to face, and it's easier to attack someone when you are behind a keyboard.
I guess like I don't maybe and this is it's gonna vary from person to person. I guess like I have even in the past week have been on the receiving end of quite a lot of not so pleasant things, but I don't like I wouldn't consider that cyberbullying myself. Maybe
I would.
it's a subjective. I don't. I just think it's people expressing their opinion. But I guess
I
it.
think it's like if it continues, but I would say like the behavior that was exhibited towards you was very abusive. Even if people are angry, it's not okay to like lash out and like attack and like I think part of the problem is what has specifically in like online communities is that it's really easy to get one story. And I'm not talking about like what happens with you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just saying like I see this a lot. Oh my God, my dogs are totally fighting behind me.
It's cute.
But you'll get if there's like a split in any kind, it happens on all kinds of communities, and it's like
Sure.
people get really connected to one person, and then it's like all like everything, all logic, all like emotion takes over, and it takes over all like thinking,
Yeah.
and so you're not making rational choices anymore, and you started doing things, and it becomes a mob mentality, which it's I see it all the time.
I guess it's just a subjective opinion. Like I just me personally, I don't take it as cyberbullying. 40% of all adults though seem really high for me, and maybe again that's just because I look at it differently than I just know that they're assholes on the internet. So but this is the most surprising thing. 42% of cyberbullying takes place with when kids reported this, experienced it on Instagram, 37% on Facebook, and 31% on Snapchat. Instagram being the number,
Yeah,
that's shocking.
that doesn't surprise me because Instagram is like the number one like social media tool for kids, and they do. I was seeing, and they do different awful things where they take photos of people and have people vote on stuff and like who's the ugliest and like it's just really nasty.
Wow.
And they have like little group photo areas that you can only invite people into so people can't see what's going on.
Okay.
And it just they share photos like of people that like they take photos or they get nudes of stuff. They like a lot of that's a really big thing is that high school boys coerce girls into getting nudes and then they put them on Instagram and then the girls are like sexually exploited through their photos being on Instagram.
Can you do nudity on Instagram? I'm not on Instagram. I got off Instagram a long time
I think
ago.
they do like blur outs, or
Okay.
like
What was shocking to me though is that Twitter is not on here, and Twitter to me would be the number one place that you would find.
yeah, like
Because
what the
Twitter is
hell
a
with all the
fucking
porn?
dumpster fire.
What is with all the porn on Twitter? I don't get it.
Oh no, I'm fine with the porn on Twitter. I'm talking about like I thought that this would be the most common. Well, I guess young people aren't on Twitter, but Twitter is like a.
No, the average Twitter user is 55 years old.
Oh God. Oh no, I am getting old. Yeah. That seems to. Twitter's a virtual dumpster fire, so that was shocking to me, but it makes sense because there's not there's kids age. Social media use has been found to correlate with mental illness. Mental issues like eating disorders and sleep disturbances. Cyberbullying victims are twice as likely to consider suicide. Oh man, they're going strong.
Oh, I know they're going nuts right now, you guys.
Frida,
Stop.
calm down.
It's Frida and Sweetie. Oh my God.
Calm down. Oh, evicted.
They're gonna go
Evicted.
destroy. Like they're gonna go like eat a shoe or something. You guys, like my dogs always lose their mind at like this time of night.
They were going at it. 10 studies have
Yeah.
found a link between cyberbullying and depression, and then 5% of cyberbullying victims report self-harm. So victims of cyberbullying are twice as likely to consider suicide. That's that's a startling statistic, I think. Um,
Okay, there.
there you go. Now, here's the thing: in schools, where does it take place? 29% in the classroom, 29% in the hallways or locker rooms, or lockers, 23% in the cafeteria, 19% during gym class, and 12.2% torture in the bathroom. I think you're. Are you going again, Katie? It's a conspiracy. They just don't want to hear you. I think Tati's got your stream. Um, Let me pull up my other thing here. So there's another group, and I think that this is probably
I'm
this.
here. This is annoying.
Are you here? Yeah, your signal keeps dropping out on this end, Katie. It's saying that it's not picking up a signal from you. Maybe reset your router. So there's a group of there's a group of people, like when you think about hate crimes and you think about bullying, there are obvious groups of people that come to mind. Obviously, people bully people based on their race, based on their size, based on whether or not they're gay or what have you. But there's a group of people that I wanted to really focus on tonight because it's important that we don't forget this group, and they actually make up a large part of people who receive or are on the receiving end of bullying or hate crimes. Violence against people with disabilities is more widespread than you think, and this is from the Southern Poverty Law Center. This is a story about Jennifer Daughtry, who was 30 years old in Pennsylvania. She had intellectual disabilities. She was smiley and trusting, a Steelers fan who loved dancing, scary movies, auto mechanics, and making friends. Jennifer was about to move out of her parents' house and into her own apartment. Which she wanted more than anyone. She wanted independence, meaningful work, love, and a family of her own someday. This is my time to start new for myself and making some new friends and not being afraid of anything, she posted on her MySpace page in February of 2010. 3 weeks later, her stepdad took her to catch a bus to Greensburg for a medical appointment and a sleepover at a friend's place. That was the last he saw of her. I remember her exact words. She said, Pa, I will see you tomorrow afternoon. Tell Mom I love her. And then she gave me a kiss on the cheek. Hold that thought, everyone. I'm going to send Katie a new video call real quick. And just a 2-second break. Okay. Now, turn that on. And hopefully, maybe this time, Katie will be able to stay with us. Let's find out. Okay. At some point in Greensburg, Jennifer met up with 6 men and women ages 17 through 36 who she thought were friends over the course of 2 days. They took turns humiliating and torturing her in their crash pad apartment. As she begged them to let her go, they beat her, stomped on her stomach, cut off her hair, painted her face with nail polish, and forced her to swallow vile concoctions of detergent oil, medications, urine, and feces. Held captive in the bathroom, she was forced to write a suicide note before she was stabbed over and over again with a steak knife. Her wrists were slit, her throat slashed. When she still clung to life, two of her killers wrapped a string of Christmas lights around her neck with one on each side. They pulled, and then they stole a neighbor's garbage can, stuffed her body inside, dragged it through the snow for 2 blocks, and left it in a school parking lot.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
This story is awful. And what I'm doing is what I wanted to make sure is like people, when you think about hate crimes and bullying, a lot of people jump to, okay, people will bully you about your race, your size, whether you're gay or not. But a group of people
Yeah.
that they don't think about are the people who are disabled.
Oh my God. Yeah, individuals with disabilities
Right.
are bullied at a rate of like 4 times greater than the average person.
It's
And like 67% of people that are disabled end up getting bullied at some point.
it's awful. And this story, when I read it, I mean, like, I was choked up the first time I read it, and now I just get that visceral reaction of anger. But um, Murphy, let's see. Although Jennifer's killers were not charged with hate crimes. They were aggressively prosecuted and received sentences varying from decades in prison to life without parole, and two got the death penalty.
Wow.
The savagery that Jennifer Daltrey suffered isn't as rare as one would hope, though. The most recent analysis of a national crime victimization survey by the U.S. Bureau of Justice indicates that people with disabilities are 2.5 times more likely to experience violence than those without, and much of that violence is extraordinarily cruel and sadistic. When a crime
Yep.
is motivated by a person's physical, intellectual, or psychiatric disability, it's a hate crime. But disability hate crimes in this country are woefully underreported, underinvestigated,
Yep.
and underprosecuted. Um,
Because they're done by family members.
right. When people think of hate crimes, they think of neo Nazis, they think of racism, they think of homophobia. They just don't seem to think of people with disabilities as being a protected category. It's the invisible hate crime. Um,
This is the life that I live.
Yeah, and it's like I'm gonna get into. There's a breakdown of statistics on people that
If
are.
you look at the women with intellectual disability, the incidents the incidences of rape and sexual assault are astronomical.
Let's see. Hey, go ahead, Katie. I'm gonna pull something up real quick, but you can.
I was just going to say this. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I'm just such an advocate against bullying because, like, obviously, my son has a below normal IQ, and these individuals that have, so there's a population, there's like intellectually disabled, and then there's people that have like lower than normal IQs, and they're considered what are called vulnerable adults because they don't function at the same level that you or I do, but they appear like they do. And so they are extremely easy targets and they become like terrorized by people. And it's horrible. But in terms of like the severe abuse, you'll see with like the people that are severely disabled, it is like the bullying and like the abuse, it's just neglect.
Mm-hmm. And another shocking thing is this also comes from the FBI. There was an increase from 2016 to 2017 in hate crimes against people with disabilities. And the hate crimes committed on the basis of disability increased from 70 reported incidents to 116 between 2016 and 2017. That's a 65% increase in 1 year.
Because President Douchebag on the campaign trail mocked a reporter with a disability. And
Mm.
once he did that, it emboldened all of the people that are on that side of the spectrum to say whatever it is that they want about people with disabilities. I literally just had the most atrocious interaction with one of my neighbors last week where I was told that if my son has so many issues, he just shouldn't be in school.
What?
And to him, like, people with disabilities are like, they shouldn't be in the community. And they're
What?
emboldened by a president who doesn't give a shit.
So I guess the another important thing to talk about now, with this, is what exactly is hate speech, because um, in doing, like, being on YouTube, you hear that a lot. There are instances of people that are deplatformed, and the platform will claim it's for using hate speech. But what exactly is hate speech? Generally, hate speech is speech that demeans on the basis of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, age, disability, or any other similar ground. Um, is hateful, but the proudest boast. Hold on, hates. This is a quote. It's offensive or bigoted speech that is directed towards someone on the basis of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, age, disability, sexual orientation, etc. The A hate crime. This is an important distinction too. Hate itself is not a crime. We can put that out there.
Right.
As
Yep.
someone who is gay, I am fully aware, and I accept, and I go through my day knowing that there are people who do not like me, or for whatever reason, they don't like the fact that I like other men, so they're never gonna warm up to me. It's one of those things. Like, I go through my day to day knowing that.
Yeah.
For the purposes of collecting statistics, the FBI has defined a hate crime as a criminal offense against a person or property motivated in whole or in part by the offender's bias against race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or gender identity. Hate crimes, which can also encompass color or national origin, include violent acts against a person or property, violation of civil rights, conspiracy, or certain true threats or acts of intimidation. The Supreme Court has upheld laws that either criminalize these acts or impose a harsher punishment when it can be proven that the defendant targeted the victim because of the victim's race, ethnicity, or beliefs. Now, the case that sticks out to me the most is Matthew Shepard. Do you remember that
Oh
story?
God, yes.
Um,
Yes. Oh my God, that was horrible.
yeah, and that sort of, I think, went a long way in speeding up sort of these laws and protections, and the
I
thing with,
still like can like imagine like him
yeah,
tied to that fence.
yeah. It was not. I don't want to. I don't want to. If you don't know what we're talking about, look it up, because it's important. It's a really hard story to get through. It's really tragic, and it went a long way, I think, in sort of galvanizing these sort of hate crime protections. When people just sort of target someone for one specific thing about them. And what I don't understand, and this is the last thing that I want to make sure that I say on this issue, is that we have to share this planet, this life, this society with other people. It's just a fact of life.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, there are people out there that get to where someone being different than them, someone thinking different than them, someone loving different than them, someone being a different color than they are, or it really gets at them. It gets under their skin. They can't stand it. It a lot of times is motivated by religious means, because religion has sort of fueled a narrative that different is bad, and you're not supposed to, we're all supposed to be the same, but we're not. We're not all the
Right.
same. We're all different. And different is what makes life beautiful. Being different is what creates things like the ability to have a device in your hand that you can literally do everything on your banking, watch the latest videos, see what your ex is having for lunch on Instagram. Like, different minds create these things. Being
Right.
different defines who we are as a people. It is the cornerstone of the beauty of life. If we were all the same, if we all thought the same, if we all believed the same, if we all dressed the same, if we all loved the same, imagine how stagnant things would be. Imagine how boring things would be, how bland things would be, how we wouldn't be able to advance. Being different, thinking
No.
different, doing different, loving different. It's part of the human experience. And
Yep.
thankfully, there seems to be a trend where the what did Martin Luther King used to say? The arc of history. It's sort of beginning to bend back towards right and justice. People are dropping their fear of people who are gay. We no longer discriminate or segregate based on the color of your skin. There's no longer a white water fountain or a black water fountain.
Right.
We drop these barriers and we embrace people for people, and we benefit. So you can't ever take for granted as the story with the police officer at the beginning of this, you can't ever take for granted the ability for these hateful people to get into offices of power, or offices where in an emergency, in an instance of cyberbullying or bullying or a hate crime. What he said from a law enforcement officer, what he said from that pulpit was a hate crime. And this is supposed to be the person that we turn to stop that sort of thing. So be aware of, especially in this election, these next coming elections are vital. We have to be careful of who we're voting in office, what the people in our government are doing. Be aware of that stuff. And just embrace people for who they are, and not for what you think they should be or what they're not in your eyes.
Unless they're hurting a child.
Yeah, I think that pretty much goes in every case. Yes. Yeah. Don't embrace
Like
people
I,
who hurt children. I can get behind that.
yeah, like like you can believe in all your wooey stuff, but don't inflict that on a kid, okay? Like you can believe in God, but like don't inflict that on a kid. That kind of stuff. Like um I am not, like, even though I'm an atheist, I have so many people that follow me that are Christians, and I don't care. Like, I'm not the kind of atheist that's like, just because you're religious, I can't be your friend. Like, that's
Sure.
ridiculous. That's that's like me discriminating against them for believing something that I don't. Like, everyone goes in their own journey and whatever gets them through the day, and as long as they don't impose it on me and I don't impose it on them, I think you can live in harmony. It's just when people start feeling like they need to impose everything.
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree. Um,
And I think
there.
it's really important that when you're online, you need to be not necessarily surrounding yourself by the people that are all thinking the same, because then you get into an echo chamber.
Completely agree. I think that it's it's important to remember too that there are good people who believe in religion and that don't harm people, and those aren't the people that
Yep.
I'm talking to. I'm referring to the
Right.
people that are vocal about this hate, that are rooting their hate in the Bible. And number one, you can't take anyone seriously, I don't think, that comes out with stating that the Bible is the pure, perfect Word of God and there are no errors in it. I mean,
Right. No.
that's just demonstrably false. Even if you took everything in the book to be true, there are so many contradictions that, like, to be able to convince yourself that that is an actual possibility, just means that you either are really dumb or you're not thinking clearly. I mean, there's just no other way
Yeah.
around that. Um, so, anything else that you want to
No,
add, Kim?
I'm just really glad that we did this topic. I'm so sad that I kept getting kicked out, but whatever.
It's okay. You made it to the end. That's all that matters. Yeah,
I did. I
it's an
did.
important it's a very important topic, and one that we need to be mindful of, especially people with disabilities, because these are people that can't they can't take up for themselves in a lot of these
No.
cases. They're very vulnerable, and
And they're counting
anytime.
on.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
No,
was gonna say they're counting on people that are like neurotypical or more able-bodied
sure,
to, you know, do the right things for them.
right. And I you have to be like, anytime you see instances of where this is happening, where people are getting bullied or pushed around, or like, let someone know. If you can't, if you don't feel comfortable enough to step in and try to stop it, call someone, because that could be the difference. But like the statistic that I read a minute ago, people who are bullied are twice as likely to um, have suicidal thoughts. And
Well, like, yeah, I mean, just to sort of like go touch back on this, like all that stuff that happened to the James Charles, he became suicidal,
yeah,
you know? And it's like you don't, and then when you get into this like mob mentality, then people like don't believe that they're suicidal, and then they mock the being
sure,
suicidal, and then it gets even more harmful.
yeah,
um, and I think especially online, when you're seeing it online, I think you shouldn't be afraid to stand up, even if it's not the popular opinion, even if it's going to get you attacked, to say this isn't right, this isn't okay. I will always like call it out if I see it. I have zero tolerance for that kind of behavior. Even if I don't necessarily like the person, I still don't think that it's fair to bully someone.
sure. And just be aware of that. Like, you don't want someone hurting themselves. Like,
Right.
I don't think there's anything worth and I know there are people get in arguments online, and it can get out of hand and that sort of thing, but you don't want it to go into where someone like actually gets hurt. I don't think, if you're a decent person, nobody wants that. So just be mindful of that. If you see someone that is getting, if there are any young people that are watching um, this, and you're still in school for whatever reason, and you see someone getting bullied at your school, I promise you, you will think back one day. You will look back, and those instances where either you were the bully, or you were in a situation where you could have stopped it or prevented it. Those will come back to you, and it
Yep.
will haunt you. You will have to, you will think about those instances when you get older. I know it doesn't seem like that now, but I promise you, when you get my age, and you're looking back in things of high school, and the 10-year reunion comes around, and you start remembering things, those instances come back in the forefront of your mind. And it's not a good feeling if you're in one of those situations. I'm telling you that. So,
And it's not a good feeling to be on the receiving end and having nobody like sticking up for you,
right.
you
Yeah.
know? So like I have never gone to one of my high school reunions because I was bullied so viciously. I've been 22 years out and I have not been to one because that's still 22 years later. I don't want to see these people.
Yeah, well, I can think of an instance. Like, I never bullied anyone, but I was in a it was out back behind one of the classrooms, and I was in a situation where I could have intervened and chose not to, and I think about that all the time. He was actually the kid that I could have intervened for. He was actually the first person that I saw at my 10-year reunion, and I wanted to make sure that I went up to him and shook his hand to make sure that he was doing good. And he's more. The ironic thing is that he was the most successful person out of the entire the entire graduating class. I mean, he's
That doesn't surprise me.
so yeah, just you will regret it if you were on, if you could have done something or you were a bully, because those things do come back to you. So just don't be a dick, and life will be good.
Yeah,
Don't be a dick.
yeah, don't be a dick.
Um, okay, Katie, always a pleasure to see you. I hope that you don't get any.
It's
I hope you don't get any
likewise.
more suits or anything like that.
Oh, it's every day in my life.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
always like, I always feel like if I'm pissing someone off, I'm doing my job right. So,
that's right.
um,
Just
and
do it.
if a measly little YouTuber with 4,500 like subscribers and my column that gets, maybe 500,000 views on a good month, if I can piss people off that have millions of views a day, I'm doing something right.
Own it. Own it, girl. Well, uh, we will be back. We'll be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. For opinionated. Um, Make sure that you check out Katie's blog and follow her and see who she's pissing off tomorrow. And
Yeah, and come check me out on YouTube too if you want to
yeah,
see me.
yeah. And you guys have a fantastic night. We'll see you tomorrow.